Hey you guys, it's Cassie. Welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to do something a little bit different with you guys. So last week I released a new digital with handsome men and basically it was vintage photos and cabinet cards that I turned into a digital. And so today I wanted to do kind of a craft with me video where I go through my process on kind of making faux cabinet cards to use in your junk journal projects. So both of these are cabinet cards that I made, and this one has like kind of an embossing around the photo image, and like this was a digital that I made from one of my personal collection cabinet cards, and so it already had the text on the bottom, but this one was just a vintage image, like a vintage photo that I turned into a digital. And so I mounted it and then used one of the vintage calling cards from another, and I'll link both of the digital kits in the description box of the video, but I used one of my vintage calling card digitals to just add some text on the bottom, which would be like the photographer name or the studio where the picture was taken, or you know, something like that. So anyway, all you'll need are some vintage photo images, and like I said, I will link the kit that I used in this project in the description box of the video. And you'll also need a mailer. So this is just a mailer that I got earlier this week. And then I have also printed off some of my calling cards. So I've got the remaining pictures from my digital kit here, and so I'm just gonna pick one to use. And actually I think I might want to do something like this one, but trim it down. So I just feel like that's going to be really interesting in a cabinet card form. And also we'll do this larger one so I can show you guys how I just embossed around the edge of the image. So I'm just gonna cut these out and I will be right back. Okay, so I have cut out a couple of the pictures, and now I wanted to note that the smaller card that I made, I actually used the board that comes inside like the seam binding packages, because it's matte and it's a little bit heavier. So obviously this mailer is not as thick as this one, and actually I might try to find, still had some of this mailer, because I don't think this one is going to be thick enough. So here is that original mailer that I used. Yeah, so I'll just use this one again. I think I can use that part. So obviously you don't want to use an area that has any tape or a seam. Like that doesn't matter so much. That's like an imperfection from the mail handler at the post office. And we're just gonna trim off that edge. So this will work just fine. So I'm just gonna move this bigger one out of the way. And I just found a card that I could use for the smaller one. Okay. So I am going to use a wet glue. I'm going to use Fabri-Tac. You can obviously use whichever glue you prefer, but just keep in mind that this is going to be something that gets moved around and should be fairly durable. So I'm not going to ink this ahead of sticking it down because I want to distress everything at the same rate. So at the same time, I guess. So I'm just going to go ahead and glue it down, and then I will show you guys how I use one of my calling cards to make a name on the bottom. I am like using a significant amount of glue, really. Always put the lid back on. My Fabri-Tac is kind of at that phase where the glue bubble comes out of the top if you leave it sitting with the lid off. So yeah, that's kind of like our warning sign that we need to get a new bottle pretty soon. Okay. And then this one, I'm just gonna glue straight down to the page. Or to the mailer, I guess, the mailer backing. Again, using a pretty significant amount of glue. You can use a brayer or, you know, a card or whatever to smooth the glue. I rarely do that. It's just kind of my thing. I just kind of use my fist to more or less smooth it, and I feel like that works good enough. So any glue that comes out the side is fine, like we're gonna cut it off anyway, so I don't worry too much about it. I just do not want to get glue on the actual image. Okay, so yeah, now I'm just gonna cut this piece out, and then I will show you guys how to finish them up. Okay, I always skip over the cutting usually for videos that I post here on YouTube, just because I feel like everyone knows how to cut things out. I just like kind of hand cut around the corners. You can obviously use a corner rounder, but I feel like something that's supposed to look old shouldn't actually be perfect anyway, so I just didn't bother with that. Okay, so this guy, I am looking for a name that is, number one, a man's name, and also will fit in the width of the card. So something that's this long. Obviously that has kind of the gold right up next to the edge, so I'm not going to use that one. This one may work, and it's pretty close to the color of the card already. This one may be better, so I may just use this one. And literally all I'm going to do is just cut out like kind of a square around the name. And I might save that little flower image for something else. So just a close cut, obviously pretty straight. I mean, I don't think something super wonky would look very professional, and typically cabinet cards were kind of a professional photograph. So okay, so I'm just gonna move these out of the way now. Okay. Charlie Gardner. And then I'm just gonna trim it around the edge. This card was bent when I got it, or when I picked it out, and I don't mind that. Like I said, things that are supposed to look old are probably not going to be perfect anyway. So I'm just gonna leave it how it is. Okay, so the next step. Now this is totally optional. I think it makes them look more authentic. All I did was take a straight ruler and my little bone folder, and I just ran my bone folder right up next to my ruler on the line where the edge of the image is on the card, and just go over it a couple of times to kind of get like that little embossed line. And do the same thing on all the sides. Sorry if my head is in the shot. I'm trying to see where the line actually should end. I actually went a little bit over there. It's okay, I'll just... And really, all of this should be kind of pressed down anyway, so you can kind of take your bone folder and just rub the edge a little bit. And that will kind of push down. So I don't think I'm going to do that the whole way, but on parts of it I might. Anyway, again, this is totally optional. And really, I have a clear ruler somewhere. I just cannot find it, and that would probably make this a lot easier. But doing the best I can. Okay. So then the very last step. So again, you can go around and kind of rub the edges, just kind of distress it a little bit more, I guess, and make it seem more three-dimensional. Like a lot of cabinet cards have like embossed areas, like where the names are and around the frame. So you can emboss, you can use an embossing folder and actually just lay the embossing folder over the top and use a bone folder or something to rub without having to run it through your embossing machine or die cutter. So that's another trick that you can do, and you just use a bone folder or something like scissor handle or something like that. Okay, so the very last step is just to ink it, and I am using, of course, Vintage Photo. Yeah, and I'm just gonna ink this up, and I'm not being very like uniform, so I want parts of it to be much more distressed, specifically where someone would grab it to look at it. So obviously the corner is going to be more distressed than the rest. So And then I'm just gonna kind of distress around the edges of the actual photo too. Same thing on this one. So the benefit of this cabinet card is that it already kind of has some distressing built into it, just because the original was distressed. So it kind of acts as a guide, like where to use your distress ink. And again, it is kind of at the bottom where someone's thumbs would be to hold the photo. So yeah, that's it, guys. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. It's a super easy tutorial, and just kind of a great way to add a little something extra to your journals without going the expense of actually buying a cabinet card, because they can get pretty pricey. And these you can make over and over and over again. So again, I'll link the kits in the description box of the video, and I hope you guys have fun. Thanks for watching.